Guys, so here we are, week 4, lesson 7, 8. Oh, hold on, that's better. Okay, so week 4, lesson 7, 8. This is for the week May 11th through May 18th. Real quick, just a couple things. So from last week's 2 lessons, you learned about lesson 5, how radio waves transmit information. You did this little thing and you pasted all those guys on there so that you would understand the actual transmission. And you learned about the difference between AM and FM, how AM radio stations change the amplitude. Remember, we talked about amplitude, so that's how the wave diverges away from the normal line. And then FM is where it's modulating the frequency. So how many times each wave comes through each second. And then you look at these, so there are differences between AM and FM. There's pros and cons for both. Likely AM radio is usually talk radio, poorer sound quality, right? That's why music is on FM stations generally. FM signals are impacted by physical barriers, so that's why you don't hear them as much, or that's why they can be blocked more likely than AM. Okay. And then lesson 6, you got into analog versus digital. You looked at these little definitions for analog and digital. And so the next lesson, so week 4, you'll be in this one, week 4, lesson 7, does more with analog and digital. So as some examples here, we can look at an analog clock and digital clock. Something we might mention here, if we talk about colors, for instance, there's an infinite number of colors, right? There's no limit on colors. You could take any shade and slowly change it until eventually it becomes the next color, but really no limited number of different shades. Even if at some point you can't tell the difference, you can still slightly change the shade, right? Or we could say thing about tones of sounds or smells. Just slightly change it, slightly change it, slightly change it. It just goes on and on. So that's sort of analog, right? If you think about this going around here, the hands on the clock going around on this analog clock, just keeps changing from one time to another constantly, right? A constant motion of changing the time, where a digital clock, whether we're talking about the minutes or the seconds or tenths of a second, it constantly clicks and it's always one time or the next time, right? It just keeps changing. Whereas an analog, it just slowly keeps smoothly changing through all the time, right? So we might look at things like this. Analog signal would be this smooth wave where it's just a constant signal of changing information, where digital is yeses or nos, right? Ones and zeros. All right. So there's another way to think about analog versus digital, which is what you'll get into here in this lesson. So you're going to read a little bit. This is lesson 7. So you're going to read a little bit, create a Venn diagram about the two. And then you're going to do a CER about which type of signal is more reliable way to encode and transmit information. And then in lesson 8, you're talking about improving digitized technology. Like that's where we are, right? We're improving technology through digitizing it. One thing it'll ask you to do, which I love to do, is talk to my parents about how technology has changed over the years. Interesting conversation to have. So maybe you'll do that. Love doing that. Almost as much as how I love Greek mythology and ancient Egypt. If you notice some of the pictures I threw in there, just love Greek mythology. Whew. Good stuff. So have that conversation, see how that goes. And then you're going to look at a simulator and answer some questions there. And then you're going to watch some old video games, new video games, and do a CER about the difference between them. That's it. I think it's a pretty short one. Two lessons this week. Remember, submit everything to the folders. It's learning. Um, if you're getting tired of printing things out and taking pictures and submitting a whole slew of JPEG images, just use Word and submit that way. Easier on yourself. Fine if you want to keep taking the pictures, doesn't matter to me, but it might be easier to use Word. Okay? Questions? Anything? Send an email. All right? Have a great week.